Hello and welcome to Department of Media and Communication, MIT World Peace University, the Social Listening Podcast, where we give you dozens of insights, ideas, and conversations that matter. I'm your host for the day, Ananya, from Master's first year, and I'm so glad to have with us today a very special guest, Mr. SHAKOOR RATHER. He is the CEO and head of Science Matters, former editor-in-chief and head of IndiaAI, and executive by Ministry of Electronics and IT and NASA. So, my first question to you is that could you tell us a little about how Kashmir has influenced you to pursue journalism? I think about Vijay.
While growing up, my grandfather always used to uh, recite stories from Iqbal, Ghalib, Faiz Ahmad Faiz. So that art of storytelling, stayed with me when I grew up. And while growing up in the 90s in Kashmir, which was a very politically difficult time to be in Kashmir, a lot of uncertainty, was around. So, uh, those stories kind of were etched in my head all the time. And when the time came, I was a science student. Then this mass communication, option opened up to me. So I kind of liked the way I could tell these stories, through fact, right? Quoting the right experts. So I never looked back after that. It was a difficult decision to, change transition from science to mass communication, but it kind of paid, off in my case. Yeah.
So, one interesting thing about you I've noticed is that your transition from being a journalist to an author, as you said, you've written novel, Life in the Block, to be married. So, come with me.
So when you are a journalist, you are mostly reporting facts, right? You cannot put your own emotions into that story. It has to be always balanced from with this expert, that expert. It has to be factual, But through fiction, you can deeply and emotionally connect with the readers. You can also fictionalize certain aspects or events which otherwise you would not be able to tell through maybe non-fiction or through journalism. Right. So that art of storytelling, fiction kind of, elevates that art of storytelling. And through fiction, you can cover a lot of aspects, which I did uh, through my first book, Life in the Clock Tower Valley. The book is about past, present, and the future of Kashmir. It's a love story set in Kashmir,
Mhm.
the beautiful Srinagar city. That is the universe of the book. And the book kind of tells you the story of Kashmir through wit, through humor, through imagination. I also use a lot of magical realism in my stories. So that having said that, that would not have been possible to journalism. Uh, that is why I chose fiction as a means of putting those things across. And also, I think as a fiction writer, you can always imagine new things. You know, you can put your imagination into your writing, so that kind of resonates with your audience.
So, being a journalism student myself, I am really curious to get all the advice I can. Like someone like you, I'd especially have you give some advice to aspiring journalists on balancing factual stories and a little bit of storytelling and keeping the audience engaged.
I think the first and foremost thing that I would advise if I was a uh, journalism student like you would be that you should have your USP. Stay unique. Uh, don't try to imitate others. Because what will stand you in the crowd is your uniqueness at the end of the day. Read a lot. I think I advise this to all my, all the budding journalists that if you are a good reader, then only will become a good writer. And if you are a good writer, then only you will be able to imagine in a better way. Even if it is to put your stories through images or videos, for that the base, is laid in reading and writing. So that is one thing that I would suggest all the journalists should do. Second thing is, you should always have this inquisitive mind. We should not just scratch at the surface. We should look beyond, what is under the surface. Kind of peel off the layers of the story. Keep your eyes and ears open, as they say in journalism schools, have that nose for news, right? Uh, And then most importantly, detach yourself from the subject you're writing about. Because sometimes you can get emotionally invested in a story, but that will kill your story because then that biasness would reflect in your story. So when you are a journalist, I think you should definitely detach and try to balance your story, garnish it with facts, but at the end of the day, also have good command over storytelling because it's not just important to report facts; it's also important to report facts in a very interesting, efficient way. You have to know where your audiences are. For example, why do you think these big media houses like Al Jazeera, BBC, the New York Times, they're all on TikTok and Instagram because they know a large number of people and the audiences they are on these platforms, right? So you have to tap to those audiences and you should be open to the change. For example, now is the era of artificial intelligence. So similarly, you have to be open to this wave and see how you can tell your stories, in a much efficient way.
So, for our next segment of podcast, I would like to invite my colleague Shruti, who will continue with the podcast.